Hey everybody, welcome to the Marc School of Woodworking. If it's a little loud in here, you got to hang in there with us, but we're in a really unique environment right now. When I started the school, it was based off of woodworking, but my idea was always to do workshops that were ancillary to that. My dream 20 some odd years ago was to ultimately get into workshops where we're doing glass blowing. And it took a bit of time to be able to find the right combination of things. We needed a facility, we needed the equipment, but the most important thing we needed was really good instructors and good people that could come in and take up and show us exactly what we needed. With that, we were able to find from Valparaiso, Indiana, two of the most talented people, best instructors I've ever been around in my life. And it just so happens that it's a father-son combination, Dave and Bryan Lee. And they started doing our Hot Shop classes here about 2 years ago. And the first year we started, it was in the month of August, and we realized that doesn't work, especially when you get close to the furnaces, where the furnaces themselves are over 2,100 degrees. And just right outside of those, where you're blowing the glass, could be 130 or 100 and something like that. Coupled in the fact that it's in August, and the first time we did it, it was 90 plus degrees outside, and people were going outside to cool down. We decided that we would change these to the early spring and into the late fall. Well, here we are, October, and it's the hottest October on record. In the last 3 days, it's been over 90 plus degrees. But it has been an incredible experience, and these two guys are incredible. Let me just start by asking a few questions. Dave, how long have you been a glass blower?
Well, Bryan and I started blowing glass about 12 and a half years ago together. Is basically we just took a class much like the students are taking here. It became hobbyists, and then over time, it became really more of a hobby, and then it became an obsession and a passion, and we opened the studio as we know it about 6 years ago.
What's the studio called?
Hot Shop Valpo.
Hot Shop Valpo. And Bryan, you started probably right out of college, right?
No, I was actually, I think I was a junior in high school. We started doing it in the winter while I was a junior in high school, and we kept going, maybe twice a month, 3 times a month, whenever we could. And then after that, obviously it continued on once we got the business
So when
going.
you started, were you guys renting space, or did you buy your own equipment?
Yeah, we took a class much similar to what we teach now, modeled after that and then improved on. And then after that, we would go up and rent time to work.
And now you have your own shop?
And now we work all the time.
For a living? Dave, you used to do what before you got into glass blowing?
Well, I was a Marine for 22 years, and then once I retired from the Marine Corps, I went to work for a real estate auction company in California. They recruited me right out of the Marine Corps, and then at that point, Bryan and I were hobbyist glass blowers, and then we decided to fall headlong into it and open the studio, and now it's a full-time job for Bryan, and I get in there and work 20, 30 hours a week on non-work hours.
And how many hours might a glass blower actually work a day? Because there's no way any human body could be exposed to this for a long period of time.
It depends on the heat. It also depends on what we have to accomplish that day. We could, if it's really bad and we only have a couple things we can do, maybe we'll only be in there for 5 hours. If we're doing a huge installation, we may be in there for 12 hours a day.
Wow. But you don't shut these furnaces down from day to day. They have to stay running, don't
Yeah,
they?
the middle unit, the furnace with all the molten glass in it, stays on 24/7. We shut it down maybe once to twice a year to do repair work. Everything else, though, we turn on roughly about an hour before we work.
And so those other ones, which are the glory holes to the side here, they heat up pretty quick.
Yeah.
But the furnace is a much slower
The furnace takes
process.
several days to heat up. Yes.
Yeah. And the furnace is where the main body of fresh glass is that they can dip out of. And then as they're working the glass, and as it cools, they go back into what are called glory holes on each side to just reheat it enough to be able to come back out to form it. And one of the interesting things that Bryan told me once about glass blowing is it's not like turning on a lathe where you have time to turn off the machine, feel it, sand it. They only have a matter of a few seconds before it starts to get too solid and the shape goes away. So it's an incredible art form. These guys have got their own style of work that they do, and you started off with you've got different names for the type of work that you do commercially and what you do in the gallery world. So tell me a little bit about the gallery side of your work, then we'll go to the commercial.
So the gallery side of our work is mostly like tabletop art that you see, and we oftentimes, Bryan and I, we work together. So we'll work in series. We have certain series that we do. Our Dune Prairie series is our signature series. Bryan has a signature series of his own that's called Dark Horizons. I have a signature that's called Skin Deep, and we work in many different types of series. We also do custom work in that regard.
And into commercial work,
Yeah.
which is really incredible.
So we've done several large industrial installations and commercial installations, from everything from a small hotel installation to a very large architectural installation at a university, in hospitals and things like that.
Unbelievable. You know, these guys are some of our favorite people to hear. They've changed our program altogether. It's a joy and a privilege to have them be a part of our workshop. In the future, if you're going to come to a class, you really do need to come to at least one of their weekend, or if you can, to one of their full week classes. It'll be an experience you'll absolutely remember forever. I encourage you to check them out. David, how can I find out a little bit more about you guys?
So you can find out about us through social media, obviously through Instagram, Hot Shop Valpo, Facebook, Hot Shop Valpo, and we also have a website of the same name.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it
Yeah,
very
it's been
much.
a
Thank you.
pleasure.